One of the biggest issues I see in e-com today and in direct-to-consumer branding is that most stores aren't differentiated enough. And what I mean by that is when you put up a store, it's very, very important that you find a way to stand out from other stores because there's millions of ways to buy on the internet right now. And especially if you're trying to go direct to consumer, whether it's with an e-com store just for money or you started a brand specifically because you really care about the products, it's increasingly important that you find a way to stand out. And the lines and demands for standing out these days is a lot higher than they ever were. Higher in 2017, higher than in 2018, higher than in 2019, higher than in 2020, higher than in 2021. And this will continue to just go up more and more and more. It's not enough just to say, okay, this product is for this kind of person who likes these sorts of things. Like it's for women who are into fitness, who are between the ages of, let's say, 20 and 40. That's not enough anymore because there's a lot of products that are exactly for those people. So what you need to do is add in a level of differentiation, add in a level of values that you can use either overtly or subtly through your branding, through your messaging, and through your positioning to make sure that the specific type of person that you want to buy from your store, your site, actually understands that it's for them. So I made a sheet called How to Differentiate Your Brand, Attract More Customers, Get More Sales, and really increase your profitability overall. So I just wanted to show that to you and go through a specific exercise that I think is really important, and then I'll cover some examples too. So I'm just going to jump into this. Make me a little... So how to differentiate your brand's message so that you can attract more of the right customers and make more sales. Feel free to, you can read this. I'll link to this down below and you can download it. It just goes over different ways to create your character, create your avatar, think about your brand, ask some questions. But I wanted to focus this video on exercise 2, this messaging and positioning, because it is likely the most important piece. It is more important than your advertising. It's more important than your advertising spend. It is more important than your products. It is everything. It means that your brand can change up its products. You can add new products. You can continue to sell to your market. You can price higher. You can be more attainable and last in the industry longer if you nail these things. So under exercise 2, messaging and positioning. The goal of positioning is to get you to a place in your marketing where another company could not easily come and sell the same products. It could sell the same products, but not with the same promises, not with that same target. They couldn't just, as long as someone is directly comparing you to somebody else, you're not doing a good enough job positioning, and you're probably then not being able to demand the price point you want to demand. And there's a lot of other things that go into this, but for the purposes of this video, just talking about message and positioning, because again, it is so crucial. The first thing on the exercise you really want to do is start thinking about some of your brand values. And what I mean by brand values is I mean things like friendly, funny, motivational, artistic. And then I said, if you're having trouble thinking of them, think of your own values. A lot of people think they don't have a brand because they haven't done a lot of work with their color palette or their logo or things like that. But trust me, you have a brand, even if you don't want to have one or mean to have one. It's kind of like fashion and style. And people are like, I don't care about fashion. I don't care about style. Regardless, if you're wearing clothes, that's a statement in itself. And the clothes that you're picking is your fashion sense, even if you feel like you don't have fashion sense. Branding is very similar to this. No matter what, a brand isn't the logos, it's not the products, it's not the customers, it's none of that stuff. It's more of a feeling. And the way you communicate that feeling is through values. So think about your brand values, write them down, make sure everyone at your company knows about them, even if it's just you. You need to be really clear about what you're trying to communicate and who you're trying to communicate it to, because you're going to share values with these customers and they need to see that you as a brand understand the values and share the same values. So that's why that's the first part of messaging and positioning to me. Then we're talking about differentiation. So who are your competitors? Like the really direct competitors, the ones who are exactly in your space, if not juxtaposed to your space, like basically right there. So you want to look at their sites and think, what are they saying about their products? Who are they targeting? What do you think about them? What do you not think? What do you like about them? What do you not like about them? What makes you different? What makes you the same? What problem does my company solve? What problem does their company solve? Example, you might have a clothing store Okay, I work a lot with like clothing stores. You're both selling t-shirts, let's say. It's t-shirts. The problem isn't I don't have a t-shirt. I think very few people probably don't have enough clothes. The problem that different companies are solving with that t-shirt can be vastly different. One company might be solving the fact that this t-shirt helps the environment, and one company might be solving the fact that this t-shirt is a great gift for dad. And they're different messaging, different marketing, different positioning, and different ways of talking about the product. All of that stuff really matters when it comes to people buying your stuff and feeling an association with it. So it's really important that you understand what other companies look like they're solving and what you're trying to solve with your site and your products. Similarly, why do customers trust us? You should ask yourself that, and ask why you trust other sites. The amount of sites that I have seen that people have messaged me to look at for them that look so untrustworthy, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is, but it has never been more important to have a trustworthy site and really get that feedback. Get that feedback on your messaging, on the colors, on the layout, because if you're not putting that level of effort into the site, it makes people feel like you don't put that level of effort into the products, and then it's harder for them to really trust the brand. So go in here, write down the stuff, think about these things, and then the next thing you want to do is think about what kind of personality your brand has or should have based on the values and what you've seen out there in the space. So you can use this little diagram down here. It's called brand personalities. This guy, David Acker, who is an academic, studied branding for most of his life. His daughter also wrote an incredible paper about brand building and about brand personas. And this is what they've figured out. Brands fit into these categories, and it's very important that you figure out which category you fit in, and then all of your content, all of your messaging, all of your colors, your logo, everything be supporting this message. Because just like people, think about who you want to hang out with. People with a certain personality. Brands need a personality, and it needs to be reflected in that group of the people you're trying to attract. It's got to seem like it's them. It's got to seem like someone they would want to be friends with. And unlike people, though, that are very complex and might have different personalities on different days, and maybe they change throughout their lives, of course, brands change too. But ultimately, it's very important that the brand be even more archetypal. And what I mean by that is even more of a caricature of personality than any human being would, so that it's very obvious what they stand for, what they like, what they believe. It doesn't matter if you're drop shipping or if you're just in it to make money or you're trying to build the next Nike. You need these things today. In 2022 and beyond, you will not get sales if you haven't nailed this. So, brand personality. We've got top 5 categories: sincerity, excitement, competence, sophistication, ruggedness. And then things underneath these, like under sincerity, down to earth, honest, wholesome. Under excitement, daring, spirited, imaginative. Competence, reliable, intelligent, successful. Sophistication, upper class, charming. And then ruggedness, outdoorsy and tough. So some examples of this would be, under sincerity, you might have something like tea companies, Walmart, just this kind of down-to-earth, sort of honest Band-Aid. Just that sincerity, that's super important. If you're selling kids' clothes or things where sincerity seems really important to your market, I highly suggest going into that space where you're really pushing this sincerity and honest, real, down-to-earth vibe. The next one's excitement. So things like daring, spirited, imaginative. For me, what comes to mind are companies like Red Bull, honestly, even Nike. So if you're trying to do something that's about activity, or that that your market is just young, cool, exciting, fresh, that's what you're trying to go for, and to make sure that all of your content, your messaging, your marketing, your everything relates to that and has that feeling embedded inside of it. The third one's competence here, so reliable, intelligent. You might think of something like banks usually have to be very on the competence side for branding in terms of leader, intelligent. A lot of tech companies, it's super important that they seem reliable. And you don't need that as much in a clothing brand, but you would definitely want it in something where you're trying to build that trust, mortgage, real estate, whatever the case may be. Next, we have sophistication. So upper class, charming, that's mostly like Tiffany's, Louis Vuitton, things like that. If you're selling high priced products, you really want to bring in a level of sophistication there. I find that people will want to spend more on stuff that they want to spend more on. They don't want a discount when they're looking for sophistication. If your biggest customer value to themselves is sophistication and luxury and upper class, they're not looking for a discount. They're not looking for cheap. They are looking for the most expensive, and they want to pay for it. And then lastly, ruggedness. So outdoorsy, tough. You think things like Ford, specifically their Ford F-150. You think about companies like Patagonia. You think about REI. So the ruggedness there, the outdoorsiness, like they're not trying to be sophisticated. They're reliable and hardworking, but their main position isn't competence. It's a byproduct. So you can have different things in different categories. Like, for instance, you look at Ford F-150, there's ruggedness there. There is sophistication there. There's competence, and there's excitement, and there's sincerity. And they've found a way to meld it all together. But at the end of the day, their core brand personality and position is definitely ruggedness. And what they've been able to do is use these other brand archetypes to get into different markets over time and really bolster up their brand personality. But at the beginning, you don't need to do that. You really just should stick to one and really make sure that you're attracting those people that share that value. So change your website, change anything you can change. I guarantee you will sell more over the next few months if you do this stuff. And if you want someone to look it over, feel free to leave me a message. You can download this and do the exercises yourself. It goes further on, talks about another element of brand personality, talks about making one-liners, and it also gives some examples of some positioning. So examples with this Tiffany & Co., right? It's like, it's jewelry, of course, and there's a lot of places that sell jewelry. But what's interesting about this is the way that they talk about it and the way that they take these pictures. Love your way or love your way. There could be a few ways to say this. From the source. It's a very specific way of talking about it, and a very, within Tiffany color palette, within Tiffany's way of speaking, and that's what helps create their brand position stronger over time. Carhartt is another good example of this. So this is more on the ruggedness side. A brand been around for over 100 years, but you might recognize their logo over here. So warmer weather is on the horizon. They're not saying like, buy our pants. They're super rugged. They're not saying that. But battle tested in the heat of real world emergencies. That is a rugged statement, and that's how they're getting across their brand position and their brand message. It's subtle, and it's about the words you pick. And so that's why you need to know what personality you're going for so that you can say the right stuff and convert more people. Lastly here, champion. I would say champion on here. If I scroll back up, I'd position them as honestly, between sincerity and, probably between sincerity and excitement. I feel like they've been trying to go more into the excitement side, but sincerity was definitely more their play for a longer time because they supplied so much stuff to college sports and things like that. So somewhere between sincerity and excitement. But when you look at their site, and these are just the latest sites that they've had, they might have changed them since I made this, but, go the extra mile. That's a brand statement that's encouraging. It's sincere. It's trustworthy. Go the extra mile. They're here to support you. Find your favorite pair of tees and shorts for working out, hanging out, and everything in between. They're understanding what their audience is doing. I go to so many sites, and their tagline is nowhere near this. I mean, their tagline might be like, best shorts ever. I mean, that's not that interesting. With positioning, you want to ask yourself, could another company say this? Could another company say this about what they have? And saying these shorts are the best, anyone can really say that because the best is subjective and doesn't really mean anything. But go the extra mile. Now this is a person that you want to connect with. This is a person who you're like, oh, okay, I can kind of see what their vibe is. Do I like their vibe? If so, I'm going to buy this. So just an example here. Anyway, there's a few exercises in this that you can check out. Again, you can download it below. I'll put the link, and I'll see you in another video. Happy brand building.